Hey Fight fans, it's Michelle Joy Phelps and I'm joined with none other than Tom Loeffler here in Big Bear. It's nice to see you. I feel like I haven't seen you in quite some time.
Since Moscow, I think. Moscow with the finals, but yeah, we're up here in Big Bear. Ryan Martin's training up here. All the great Tyson Fury, Joe Joyce, Guido's up here. Sergey Boychuk. We have the Hollywood Fight Night show next Tuesday, October 30th. So this is like a boxer's paradise up here in Big Bear.
Seriously, everybody is up here. I was just saying, I don't even remember the last time we've seen this many fighters up the mountain at this point.
Even Bruce Trampler's up here. You get an appearance from Bruce, and it's so many great guys up here.
So let's just start with the fact that Alexander Usyk.
Yeah.
We got a co-promotion with Matchroom and DAZN. We're going to be featuring, or he will be featured on Sky Sports and DAZN. Tell me a bit about how that process came about.
Well, I got to give credit to Alexander Krasyuk from K2 Ukraine. He signed him from the amateurs as a gold medalist, and Usyk did what he needed to do in the ring. He broke Evander Holyfield's record, winning a world championship in his 10th pro fight. He won the unified all the titles, undisputed champion now, winning the Super Series, and making the fight with Bellew seemed to be the most attractive option. With Tony, I met Tony when Vladimir fought against Joshua last year at the Wembley Stadium, and I have a lot of respect for Tony Bellew, and I think that's the biggest event for both guys. It makes sense for both guys. It's a huge fight for Usyk defending all of his titles, and it's a huge opportunity for Tony. Beating David Haye now twice, now he can unify. He can win all those titles that Usyk accumulated. So it's a tremendous fight. It's a great fight for the fans. It's a great fight for the sport, and I think it'll be a very entertaining fight in the ring.
Is the bigger plan at this point, after that fight, win or lose, that he's going to heavyweight?
I think so. I've been in regular contact with Alexander, and it seems like he wants to go to heavyweight with his speed and his boxing abilities, his technical skills. The way he went through the tournament, and really the stamp on that was beating Murat Gassiev, who Abel trains up here in Big Bear, California. And, Abel said nobody could beat Usyk on that night. So I really think that with his success as a cruiserweight, moving to heavyweight, I think that would be a natural transition. He's not the biggest heavyweight when you see some of these guys like Deontay Wilder and Fury and Joshua, but with his skills and his skill set and his speed and his slickness, being a slick southpaw that can punch, I think he will do very well at heavyweight.
Usyk reminds me a lot of a larger Lomachenko. Would you agree?
I would agree. We have a tremendous amount of respect for Lomachenko. Arguably, Usyk's opponents that he's beaten, he went through all the champions, fought them in their home country. So you could say that Usyk's opponents have been even a step above. What he's accomplished in his limited amount of fights is a tremendous accomplishment, and that's why I think with the challenge of moving up to heavyweight. But you can't You want to make sure we get one thing straight. You can't overlook Tony Bellew. The way he went to heavyweight, knocked out David Haye twice, and you can't count out Tony with his heart. And that's why I think it's a great matchup. I think it's going to be an entertaining fight in the ring. The styles should work well. Tony never seems to be in a boring fight.
Tony looks slimmer than ever as well. He looks in great shape.
I'm sure he's motivated with everything that's on the line right now. Tony's very motivated, and I think it'll be a great fight. If Usyk beats him, I could though see him moving to heavyweight for some of the bigger challenges at heavyweight.
Alexander Usyk is also, last time I spoke to him in Manchester, he said that one of the things that he has to experience now is, and has a hard time with a bit, is not being able to just go out for a walk. How fame, the Super Series, everything that's happened for him, it's changed his life. Has he ever said anything to you too as well about all the changes?
I can, we saw him in Kiev for the WBC convention over there, and he's really that hometown hero, home country hero over there, like Triple G is in Kazakhstan, Usyk is in Ukraine. I think even more so than like Loma came over to the States and started fighting, and Usyk had a few fights in Ukraine, so I think he had that stronger connection in Ukraine. Loma naturally has built up his name bigger over here in the States. So, you know, when Usyk, he's got that quirky personality, you know, he's got a funny sense of humor. And,
I was gonna say, he doesn't speak too much English, but boy, does he know how to make you laugh. It's face expressions, it's his demeanor. He always finds a way to make people, you know, he's a bit endearing, the same way that Triple G is. He didn't know too much. He didn't have much to say in response. Sometimes he didn't really know what he was saying in response, but it made it endearing watching him on camera.
Best Triple G line was still your question. Would you ask her? You asked him Angelina Jolie or Jennifer Aniston. He said both. So that was, yeah, so, you know, if your English isn't perfect, but you can say a few words like that, like Gennady was at the time, or like Usyk is now, I think it just really...
I am feel.
You
got to get that copywritten.
Yeah. So that's why, you know, those are the type of guys that'll transcend just their native language, you know, just with their personality outside the ring, with their style inside the ring. And... you know, I think he's got a tremendous future. He's accomplished so much already, but at 29, I think he's got a tremendous future ahead of him.
Now, speaking of Gennady Golovkin, I unfortunately wasn't there in Vegas to watch the fight, but I was watching on TV, and even though I scored it...
We needed you as one of the judges.
Yeah, I know. I scored it for him. I was a bit...
I think everyone scored it for him except for two of the judges. We had approved the judges, so we can't complain about the judges per se, but you know, two judges gave Canelo the 12th round, and that seemed to be one of the clearest rounds with those uppercuts that Gennady was landing in the beginning of the round and the end of the round. It just, you know, but Al Bernstein went on Twitter saying there's no way he lost the fight. Dan Rafael said it was 1,000,000% that I mean, the 12th round, 1,000,000% he won the 12th round. So if just one judge had given or one of the second judges had given that 12th round, it would have been Triple G would have retained his titles. So, you know, it was just fighting Canelo in Vegas is a challenging proposition, because I mean, you saw even with Floyd Mayweather, he got a draw against Floyd, who by all accounts, you know, had beaten him pretty clearly when Canelo was a lot younger, but. You know, what can you do? It's with that being said, I think Gennady's popularity, because so many people thought he won the fight, or at least should still be the champion. Yeah, both fights. You know, it's funny, the narrative that some people try to put out is that, well, you know, do you think Gennady's going to retire, or, you know, he's getting older? Look, if he had gotten both of those decisions like he should have, then no one would be talking about him getting old, or, you know, beating Canelo, beating Danny Jacobs, beating Canelo twice. That's cleaning out that whole middleweight division. But right now, like I said, his popularity seems even more or even higher than before, because the people really want to support him. They feel like, you know, all the comments that I get, everyone says he should have gotten the decision and he should still be the champion. So now he's really will be campaigning as the people's champion. I think he can write his own ticket now, because his popularity, whether he fights in Madison Square Garden, whether he fights, it doesn't matter where he fights at the Forum, you know, internationally, overseas, he's so popular. You know, Kazakhstan is waiting for him. They have a 40,000 seat soccer stadium over there that they want him to come home and fight in Kazakhstan. So he's got so many different opportunities right now. It's almost like there's more opportunities now than there was before, and the great thing is the fighters are actually willing to get in the ring with them before, you know, I mean, now. Before it was, you know, when we were trying to Felix Sturm or Sergio Martinez or Cotto or Canelo, when WC ordered it originally, I mean, so many of the champions, Peter Quellen at the time, you know, it just we couldn't get any of the champions except David Lemieux to fight him, and now it seems like people seem to they know that he brings a lot of money to the table, and they don't have that same fear of when he was knocking everyone out with 23 knockouts in a row. So it actually seems like it's going to make my job easier to make the higher profile fights, because before we just couldn't get anyone in the ring with him. So we're excited.
I guess that's a bit of looking at the glass as half full as opposed to half empty, right? Because of the situation. I mean, it seems as though Gennady now, we know, no longer has a contract with HBO. So I'm curious as to who you've been approached by.
Well, that's also, his popularity. Everyone knows he's the biggest free agent right now.
We know that DAZN just locked up Canelo. Have you guys been approached by DAZN as well?
We've been approached by DAZN. We've been approached by ESPN. We've been approached by another platform who's not in boxing but has a big budget, and they seem to be interested with Triple G. Look, we're happy for Canelo. If Canelo can get that kind of a deal and Golden Boy gets their shows on it, I think the more boxing, the higher budgets is good for the sport overall. So there's no resentment there. It's just, we feel that Gennady won both fights. But look, if Canelo can parlay that into the deal that he did, then that's great. And if we can make a third fight with the Canelo, that's great too. If not, Gennady, as a television free agent, pretty much can write his own ticket right now. And he's, gone through the whole thing, a whole process of trying to unify all the titles, and now he has no titles and no mandatories, and but it seems that he's bigger than the titles. At least his popularity and his image is, and so we'll figure out what's the best TV platform, what's the best direction for him to go to, and then also opponent-wise, who's the best for the next fight or the next couple fights.
What is the likelihood that Gennady and Canelo can make the third fight? Like, if you had to sort of break it into a percentage, what do you think the likelihood is?
Well, as long as I know Triple G wants to get Canelo in the ring again. I don't know if it'll be in Las Vegas, but he wants to get Canelo in the ring again. He put up his titles twice for Canelo. Canelo made his two biggest paydays of his career fighting Triple G. So whenever you have a fight like that the fans are demanding, a fight where both guys made their biggest paydays, it makes sense. Canelo is probably going to take one or two fights now, and I'm in regular contact with Eric Gomez of Golden Boy, we'll see if there's a way to make the third fight. I know the fans clearly still aren't satisfied with the judging, but we'll see if it makes sense to make a third fight. I still think it's if not the biggest fight, one of the biggest fights that can be made in the sport. You got two guys that are extremely popular. Triple G sells tickets wherever he fights. We did the third and fourth highest gates with Triple G and Canelo. We did more ticket sales at the gates than when Canelo fought Floyd Mayweather. So, it's one of those financial situations that works. Now with the DAZN deal, I'm not sure how that is going to work out financially, but it sounds like that would be. They have the budget to put up, a guarantee for a third fight, and we'll have to see if there's a way to structure it where we can work out a third fight with Canelo.
Now, last time you and I spoke, I know that you mentioned that Gennady was interested in going over to the UK again and facing another opponent out there. At the time,
we tried to get your friend Carl Froch back then, and Eddie could never do that. Never could do that deal at Wembley Stadium. Yeah.
But now that Billy Joe no longer has the WBO title, would you still consider a fight being made there with him?
That was really the reason to fight Billy Joe. I mean, great fighter, undefeated, but the reason really to fight him was to collect that last title.
So it doesn't really interest you without it?
Not as much. I think there's bigger fights over here in the States. Again, that's not putting Billy Joe down at all. It's always unfortunate when you have a champion that loses the title that's not in the ring. But I wouldn't discount it. We were gonna do a fight with Billy Joe Saunders in Kazakhstan last year or the year before. I think it was last year. No, it was the year before. Anyway, when they had the expo over there, but you can't count them out. A fight with Billy Joe could be possible if it makes sense.
I still see it being a popular fight in the UK. I mean, just from someone who's always out in the UK, I could definitely still see that they're being buzz regardless of either of them having titles or not.
I think wherever Triple G goes, when we fought Kell Brook over there at O2 and the tickets sold out, there was like 4,000 fans coming for the open workout, and you got to love the UK fans, Look, Callum Smith is doing well right now. Eubanks is fighting James DeGale, that's a good fight. You know, so there's a lot of popular UK fighters that, you know, coming back to the UK would be always something interesting for Triple G as well.
What do you make of Callum Smith winning the super middleweight World Boxing Super Series tournament, the first Ali Trophy? What do you think of it?
You were there at that.
I actually wasn't in Jeddah. I wasn't in Jeddah. No.
I think Callum Smith is a great fighter, tremendous fighter. Winning that tournament, you know, I think that's again that could be a great matchup for Triple G.
Yep. Does that mean that Triple G would then move up to super middle to face him?
I think for a fight like that, we've always said that he would move up for the right fight. If it was a Froch at Wembley Stadium, it makes sense to move up, and then he can come back down. And you know, his goal was always to unify the middleweight division. That was his goal. He made that very clear to me, and unfortunately, Billy Joe was, for whatever reason, we could never get that fourth title or fifth title fight made. But you know, a Callum Smith fight could make sense. Chavez Jr., you know, made sense at the time when he was very popular, and that would have made a lot of sense. But I think he's going to focus still at 160 unless there's a big fight at 168. That makes a lot of sense. You know, Canelo moving up to Rocky Fielding doesn't really do that much moving the needle, but you know, it's that's the fight that he chose. I think if Triple G goes up to 168, it'll be for a significant fight. You know, for a very marketable fight that makes sense. Otherwise, he'll stay. He still makes 160 very easy, yeah. And I think otherwise he'll just stay at 160 pounds, which is a hot division right now.
Tom, when can we expect Gennady to come back? I know that rightfully so, he wanted to take some time off. It was very painful to watch the aftermath of it all because, you know, he left the ring. He didn't really want to do much talking. He still gave credit to Canelo, which shows great sportsmanship. But overall, like, when do you anticipate that he's going to be returning?
Look, it wasn't Canelo's fault that the judges scored it the way they did, you know, so you can't take it away. Canelo did fight better the second fight than the first fight. I think there was no question that Triple G won the first fight, and we feel he won the second fight. At worst, you know, with that 12th round, I don't see how you can give more than 6 rounds to Canelo, which, you know, that's at the worst. That's if you score all the even rounds or all the close rounds to Canelo. But, you know, it was Canelo's night with not in the ring winning the fight, but winning the decision. Yeah. And so, you know, Triple G, look, for it to happen back to back like that, twice like that, where it was controversial, and I mean, I think you saw there was a poll like 48 out of 50 ringside media thought that Triple G won the fight or should still be the champion. And Argentina, who's very passionate about boxing, was 38 out of 40 of media. I thought Triple G won the fight. I mean, it's not even close. Not even, you know, sometimes you get 60-40, and some people, you know, it just wasn't even close. But again, you know, we're not looking backwards. We're looking forwards. Canelo got a great deal from DAZN, and we're happy about that for him. And Triple G was, you know, he's got so much passion for and respect for the sport of boxing. You know, it's one of those unfortunate situations. He's been compared to Marvin Hagler quite a bit, and you saw when Hagler, you know, arguably won the fight against Ray Leonard but didn't get the decision. You know, he was very disappointed in the sport of boxing, and I think Gennady is disappointed in the sport of boxing, and it's changed into sometimes it's changed into a business of boxing. But I think.
Do you feel that right now he's bitter? Do you feel like he's angry at it, or has he sort of come to terms with this is part of the sport? It happens, and he's already moved on from it.
It's hard to say it's part of the sport. It shouldn't be part of the sport. Unfortunately, bad decisions are all too common. Yeah. But I don't think you can say he's angry, or, you know, I think it's more just disappointed. He's just disappointed. But, you know, look, he has nothing to be ashamed of. If we really thought as a team, if Abel and I and, you know, the team thought that he lost the fight, okay, that's one thing. Okay, give Canelo credit. He was the better man that night, you know, but the way that went down, just there's nothing for Gennady to be disappointed about in his performance other than not getting the decision.
But if you look at his body language when he left the ring, he was very, you could see how much it pained him. It almost looked like he was going to cry. What did he say? What has he said?
Not to that extent. He was disappointed. I mean, and really took a lot of wind out. Here's the sport. He says like disrespect for the sport of boxing. Here's the sport on the highest level. It's seen all over the world, over 160 countries, and then you get a decision like that. So that's what he was the most disappointed by. But. He let Canelo do his post-fight interview, and he just figured, it's not his stage in the ring. I know the fans wanted to hear him speak, and he spoke at the post-fight press conference, and he's a very proud champion. We still feel he's an undefeated champion, but I think again now with his popularity being at an all-time high. I think when he does come back, it'll be, to answer your question from before, I think we're looking anywhere from March, April, May next year. And when he does come back, I think he'll have such a groundswell of support, from the fans, from the media, his sponsors, all of his sponsors, Jordan, Chivas, Tecate, Usyk-Bellew, they all clearly felt that he won the fight. He's a great ambassador for the sport of boxing. He's never had anything bad associated with his name. He's never tested positive for any, performance-enhancing drugs. So it's always, Gennady is the best ambassador you could have for the sport of boxing and for someone's brand. And that's why, all of his sponsors are sticking with him. And the arenas all want him to fight there. And that's why the TV networks are all interested in working with him.
Well, it's definitely not a bad place for him to be in. That's for sure. Could be worse. It's definitely not a bad place. He's still a ticket seller, and he's still loved by many. Tom, thank you so much.
Still one of the most exciting fighters. Even if he didn't knock out Canelo, they were still two great fights. So we'll see where it heads. But I think Gennady, with his lifestyle, with his training habits, with his discipline up here, I mean, he's really the leader up here at the gym. I think there's still a lot of fight in Triple G, and I think the Triple G brand will continue. Look, Vladimir fought when he was 40, 41, and Floyd in his 40s. So, I think Gennady at 36 still has, especially with his punching power, the equalizer that he has. I still think you'll see the fans will be happy to know that they're still going to see a number of Triple G fights.
Well, that's good news. That's always good to hear. Well, thank you so much for your time, Tom. I always appreciate you. I know that you had some work to do up here, so I appreciate you sitting down with me.
The sparring there in the corner there.
I'll let you go. Thank you again for your time.
All right.
Bye, Fight fans.
Bye-bye.
Hey Fight fans, it's Michelle Joy Phelps. If you haven't already subscribed to our YouTube channel, make sure you do so by clicking this icon right here, or else